The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution protects the right of individuals to keep and bear arms. It's a fundamental right, enshrined in our nation's founding document. But like all rights, it's not absolute and has been subject to ongoing debate and interpretation. In 2022, the Supreme Court shook things up with its landmark ruling in the case of New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, Inc. v. Bruen. This case, stemming from New York's restrictive concealed carry laws, sent shockwaves through the country. The court's decision was a major victory for gun rights advocates, but it also raised a whole new set of questions about the future of gun control in America. This essay will delve into the Bruen case, its implications, and the ongoing legal battles surrounding it. We'll explore the arguments from both sides of the aisle, examining the delicate balance between protecting individual rights and ensuring public safety. So, grab your shrimp forks, folks, because we're about to dive into a topic that's as controversial as it is important. The Bruen case revolved around New York's requirement for a concealed carry permit. Applicants had to show an actual threat, not just a general desire for self-defense. The Supreme Court struck down this provision, citing Second Amendment rights. Justice Clarence Thomas stated the right to bear arms extends outside the home. This decision invalidated similar laws and triggered lawsuits. Gun rights advocates hailed it as a victory for the Second Amendment. Gun control advocates feared it would lead to more guns and violence. In response to the Bruen ruling, New York State, never one to back down from a fight, quickly passed the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, or CCIA. This law, enacted just weeks after the Supreme Court's decision, was a clear attempt to circumvent the ruling and maintain strict gun control measures. The CCIA created a slew of new requirements for concealed carry permit applicants, including mandatory safety training, background checks for ammunition purchases, and restrictions on carrying firearms in sensitive places like schools, hospitals, and public transportation. It also implemented a more subjective standard for evaluating an applicant's good moral character, which critics argued could be used to deny permits arbitrarily. This legislative countermaneuver was met with immediate backlash from gun rights groups. They argued that the CCIA was a blatant attempt to undermine the Supreme Court's decision and infringe upon the rights of law-abiding citizens. Lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of the CCIA were filed almost immediately, setting the stage for another round of legal battles over the Second Amendment. The legal challenges to New York's CCIA are making their way through the court system, with both sides presenting their arguments. Gun rights groups argue the law's restrictions nullify the right to bear arms outside the home. They contend the CCIA's vague language gives the government too much discretion. New York State argues the CCIA is necessary to protect public safety. They point to the Bruen decision allowing reasonable regulations on firearms. As of today, October 4, 2024, the legal battles are ongoing. The Bruen decision and the subsequent legal challenges to New York's CCIA have far-reaching implications for gun control laws across the country. If the Supreme Court ultimately sides with gun rights advocates and strikes down key provisions of the CCIA, it could set a precedent that undermines similar laws in other states. Many states may issue laws similar to New York's pre-Bruen system, which give authorities broad discretion in granting concealed carry permits. These laws could be vulnerable to legal challenges in the wake of the Bruen decision, potentially forcing states to adopt more permissive shall-issue systems that grant permits to anyone who meets basic requirements. The potential unraveling of stricter gun control laws has reignited the debate over gun rights in America. Gun control advocates worry that easier access to concealed carry permits will lead to an increase in gun violence, while gun rights advocates argue that it will empower law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. The outcome of the legal battles surrounding the Bruen case could have a profound impact on the future of gun control in the United States. The Bruen case has reignited the national debate over gun rights. It highlights deep divisions in American society over the Second Amendment. Gun control advocates argue the decision jeopardizes progress on gun safety. Gun rights advocates see it as a victory for individual liberty. They argue that gun ownership is a fundamental right for self-defense. The Second Amendment, for better or worse, is a cornerstone of American identity. It represents the right to self-defense, the fear of tyranny, and the rugged individualism that is deeply ingrained in our national psyche. However, it's also a right that has been interpreted and reinterpreted throughout our history, reflecting the evolving values and anxieties of our nation. In the wake of the Bruen decision, it's more important than ever to have thoughtful, nuanced conversations about the Second Amendment. We need to move beyond the tired talking points and engage in honest dialogue about the role of firearms in our society. This requires listening to and respecting perspectives different from our own, even when we strongly disagree. The Second Amendment is not just about guns, it's about freedom, responsibility, and the delicate balance between individual rights and the common good. It's about finding ways to protect our communities from gun violence without infringing upon the rights of law-abiding citizens. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but it's a conversation we can no longer afford to avoid. The debate over gun control is often framed as an all-or-nothing proposition, with both sides digging in their heels and refusing to compromise. However, there is a growing consensus among Americans that we need to find common-sense solutions to reduce gun violence without resorting to extreme measures. Many people believe that we can strike a balance between protecting the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens and keeping firearms out of the hands of those who would do harm. This involves implementing policies that have broad public support, such as universal background checks, red flag laws, and increased funding for mental health resources. Common-sense gun laws are not about taking away guns from responsible gun owners, they're about keeping our communities safe from preventable tragedies. They're about finding solutions that respect the rights of gun owners, while also addressing the concerns of those who fear gun violence. It's a delicate balance, but it's one we must strive for if we want to create a safer, more peaceful society. The future of gun rights in America remains uncertain. The Bruen decision has upended the legal landscape, and the ongoing legal battles over New York's CCIA will likely have far-reaching consequences. The outcome of these cases could determine the extent to which states can regulate firearms, potentially leading to a patchwork of gun laws across the country. At the same time, the national conversation about gun control continues to evolve. Mass shootings, urban violence, and suicides involving firearms continue to plague our nation, prompting calls for action from both sides of the aisle. The challenge lies in finding solutions that can garner enough support to overcome the political gridlock that has stymied progress on this issue for far too long. The future of gun rights in America will depend on the outcome of court cases, the actions of lawmakers, and perhaps most importantly, the will of the American people. It will require a willingness to engage in difficult conversations, to find common ground, and to prioritize the safety and well-being of all Americans. The debate over gun control is complex and emotionally charged, often fueled by fear, misinformation, and deeply held beliefs. It's easy to get caught up in the rhetoric and resort to simplistic arguments that ignore the nuances of this multifaceted issue. However, if we want to make meaningful progress on gun safety, we need to approach this issue with nuance, empathy, and a willingness to listen to perspectives different from our own. We need to acknowledge that there is no single solution that will magically solve the problem of gun violence. It will require a multifaceted approach that addresses the root causes of violence, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of access to mental health care. It will also require a commitment to enforcing existing laws, promoting responsible gun ownership, and fostering a culture of respect and understanding. Navigating the complexities of gun control requires a commitment to open-mindedness, critical thinking, and a willingness to consider evidence-based solutions. It's not about demonizing gun owners or dismissing the concerns of those who fear gun violence. It's about finding common ground and working together to create a safer, more just society for all. The Bruen case and its aftermath have stirred up a lot of debate, much like a shrimp and a cocktail sauce shortage would cause quite a stir. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but one thing is clear: the conversation about gun rights in America is far from over. As we navigate this complex and often contentious issue, let's strive for thoughtful dialogue, respectful debate, and a shared commitment to finding solutions that protect both individual rights and public safety. After all, even shrimp know the importance of a well-balanced ecosystem. So the next time you enjoy a delicious shrimp cocktail, take a moment to ponder the delicate balance of flavors, just as we must strive for balance in our approach to gun control.